In this lesson, you'll learn how to write the introductory section for your informational article. An introductory paragraph or section needs to do three things. Number one, it needs to engage the reader. Your goal is to grab the reader's attention within the first few sentences. Number two, it needs to introduce the topic or the larger context. In your informational article, this is where you're going to really introduce the larger topic before you dig into your controlling idea. And then number three, you're going to foreshadow the controlling idea and subtopics. It's important that the reader knows where you're going. Really give them a map for your informational article. So let's take a look at some of the introductions from the informational articles that we read this unit and see if the authors do this. If they engage the reader, introduce the topic or the larger context, and then foreshadow the controlling idea or subtopics. So let's start with our hook. I'm going to highlight our hooks in gray. This is from the article on how climate change is impacting when animals eat. So here's our hook. Global warming seems to be messing with nature's intricately timed dinner hour. So the author uses just a quick, fun sentence to really capture the reader's attention. So now he's going to give us a little bit of the larger topic. He's going to kind of introduce the big, broad topic of how nature's dinner hour, how when animals eat, really is detailed and how that timing is everything. Hunting is complicated and requires very specific timing, but predators and their prey are now showing up at different times, a new study shows. Timing is everything in nature. Bees have to be around, and flowers have to bloom at the same time for pollination to work. And hawks need to migrate at the same time as their prey. He's giving us a couple of examples just to help us understand the larger topic. So now he's going to foreshadow his controlling idea, his argument. In many cases, global warming is interfering with the timing, scientists say. So there's his controlling idea. He is going to argue, or he's going to show us in this informational piece, how global warming really is messing with when animals eat. So he absolutely engages the reader, introduces the topic or larger context, and foreshadows the controlling idea. He doesn't foreshadow his subtopics. That's something that you, however, are going to do. So let's look at another one. This is from the article that was your formative assessment on coral bleaching in the Great Barrier Reef. So let's look at her hook here. The Great Barrier Reef is famous for its kaleidoscope of colors, a rainbow of sea creatures swimming past bright corals. So the author here uses this image of the kaleidoscope of colors, these bright rainbow of colors, to really grab the reader's attention, to make the reader really fall in love with coral reefs. So here we're going to move into our, the author's going to introduce the larger topic. Last year, however, something strange happened. The reef's coral turned bone white. Scientists call this bleaching. So here they're using an example from the Great Barrier Reef to introduce the larger problem of coral bleaching. Unfortunately, coral may never return to its previous color, a new study says. So here is the controlling idea. Scientists say that rising temperatures are to blame and that swift action is needed to save the Great Barrier Reef. So this author is going to show us in this informational article that rising temperatures are to blame for coral bleaching, and that if we don't take swift action, that we're going to lose the Great Barrier Reef. So I want you to notice that even in a real informational article, authors in their introductions, even when they're pretty short like these, are going to engage the reader. They're going to introduce the larger topic or context, and they're going to foreshadow their controlling idea. You also are going to foreshadow your subtopics. So let's look at my example. So I decided when I sat down to write about coral bleaching, I wasn't going to steal this hook, that I wanted to make the reader fall in love with Australia's Great Barrier Reef. So I looked up a ton of really fun facts about Australia's Great Barrier Reef, and that's how I decided to start. So here's my hook. I'm trying to grab the reader's attention within the first few sentences and really engage the reader. Australia's Queensland region is the host of over 2 million tourists every year. What's drawing these visitors? One of the most colorful and diverse ecosystems in the world, Australia's Great Barrier Reef. So here's some of my facts. 25,000 individual reefs and 900 islands make up the Great Barrier Reef. Altogether, the reef spans more than 1,200 miles. What makes this collection of reefs so magical, however, is not its size, but the wild diversity of coral and marine life that live here. Over 400 different types of coral create the vibrant backbone of this ecosystem, which is home to over 9,000 different species of marine life. This brilliant rainbow of color is what draws millions of tourists and scientists alike each year, and why it was named a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1981. So when you sit down to write your hook to really engage your reader, rather than using one of the common hooks that we've practiced in the past, like a quote or a question, I want for you to think about what really will grab the reader's attention. What about your topic is really going to make the reader fall in love with your topic right from the beginning and want to continue reading? So now I'm going to provide a little bit of the larger topic or the larger context. I'm really just introducing coral bleaching, and I'm going to use the Great Barrier Reef to do that. The survival of the Great Barrier Reef, however, is currently in jeopardy. In 2016, huge sections of the coral suddenly turned white. This phenomenon is known as coral bleaching, a sign that the coral is under stress. Corals depend on specific climate to thrive. Any change in the temperature or chemistry of the ocean can compromise its survival. So notice here that I'm not digging in, I'm not really explaining a ton about coral bleaching. I'm just introducing my topic. I'm going to get into the details, the science behind coral bleaching in my first subtopic, which is on coral bleaching. I'm going to really explain it there, but here I'm just kind of introducing it. And then lastly, I'm going to foreshadow my controlling idea and my subtopic. So here's my controlling idea. Climate change has had an impact on both temperature and chemistry, putting corals in danger. So that's my argument, that climate change is really impacting both temperature and chemistry, which really puts the coral in danger. Here I'm going to foreshadow my subtopics. Unless we significantly reduce carbon emissions, we will continue to see ocean temperatures and acidification increase, and more coral reefs die off. So remember that my first subtopic is on coral bleaching, which is the ocean temperatures. And then my second is on ocean acidification. So there I'm introducing my first two subtopics. And here's my second two subtopics. The death of coral reefs will not only be devastating for thousands of species, so there's my second, the impact on the biodiversity of the coral reefs, but it will hugely impact people and economies that depend on the coral reefs for their livelihood. So there's going to be my last subtopic. So when you sit down to write your introduction, I want for you to think about, how can I really engage my reader, introduce the topic or larger context, and foreshadow your controlling idea and subtopics? Get started.